Hey all, it's Mooch. Just trying a quick test of going live here. Let me know. I'm going to try to fire up chat because I actually have no idea what's going on here. See if I can follow until I turn off the volume. Okay, that might work a little bit better. Kim Svensson, hello. Boombot, Charles, Zipos, John, hey. It's going to be hard for me to bounce back and forth. My apologies until I can figure out what the best way to do this is. Of course, what you see in preview. I get it up there. Excellent, except it roars by a million miles an hour, so I'll keep it over here too. Hello everybody, thanks for stopping by. Pardon me for looking over here, because that's where chat is, but it's probably better than looking down here. If I scroll up and down and try to get to some questions, particularly when I go live for a Q&A, which is what this test is for, I'll be using this other tablet to scroll up and down and look for questions, because this stuff just whooshes right by. If the video is crappy, it's because I'm on a 720p, I think, for this front-facing camera, but it's the only way I can see myself, and a little different from the videos where I go 1080. And also, if the sound quality is off, let me know. Otherwise, yeah, John, 3 a.m. here too, but it's just a quick test to see. I was going to do it earlier, but then Fagan came in and decided he was jealous and put on his live thing to push me out, try to repress my knowledge distribution. Yeah, just kidding. Um, and then the rest, now I know what they're saying when you try to keep track of chat and do this. So for the Q&A, yeah, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this. But anyway, I hope everyone's doing well. It's soggy as hell here in New York. And but it's better than freezing cold and 9 degrees and a ton of snow. At least it'll go away. With all the dry heat we get from the radiators, I don't mind a little bit of extra humidity. And I think if you guys have some questions, let me know. We can try to address a few of them. If it's an Ohm's Law kind of thing, forget it. You're responsible for that, especially if you're a Mech user. You need to use that. Otherwise, you can check out some of my earlier videos for some of the theory and equations you need to use. But for other questions, no problem. And then, let's see, I think I'm going to try to keep track, it's right there, of this part here. Otherwise, maybe I'll work out with the two tablets side by side, but I've got no gear. This thing's actually set up on a freaking ladder and duct tape, just to, because I'm not going to spend money until I know things actually work out. So we'll see what it turns into. Moochers, I like that. Freezing in Utah, yeah, we had our thing. Yeah, and I didn't do, is it set to slow chat? I didn't see a setting for that. If a lot of people come in, I might set, if there's an option for slow chat, I think I can do that through youtube.com as opposed to the YouTube app here. I can set slow chat for live. But let me know if this is, nope, not, okay, so I may have to do that. I may have to go through, do another test and go through what I call it, YouTube Studio and youtube.com and see what's going on. Hey all, for those who are just joining, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for this, and no real knowledge laying down on you unless I can see an occasional question here. Kim, thank you for letting me know. Dang it, it's really, don't know which one I should be using for, what's the best way to clean batteries? I just use a very lightly dampened, just paper towel with a little bit of alcohol. Yeah, just plain isopropyl alcohol. Don't ruin your best tequila for this. And just not wet, just very damp, just brush it. But really, there's not a lot in terms of dirt. I think your batteries are building up. Something's wrong if your batteries are building up a lot of dirt. Now, arc marks and things like that, the green dishwashing scrubber sponges, if you do it every day, otherwise you may have to take slightly more aggressive approaches, but do that very, very carefully. Don't damage the wraps. Certainly don't take off any metal and things like that, but the arcing marks are bad. So I don't know if you mean just dirt or heavier things like arcing. Yeah, that's definitely the best way. What have I heard about? What? Yeah, moist, not dripping. Um, 2,700 days from a battery pack. If you're doing that for yourself, I have zero problems with it. But if you are buying those from someone else, just understand that you are taking a risk. On top of the risk we already take using these freaking batteries outside of a battery pack, which they're not meant to do at all. These batteries are being removed individually, each one being done by hand, sanded by hand, or a power tool, even worse. No matter how confident the person who's salvaging and recovering those batteries is, we don't know if they've done a perfect job on it or not. It's up to you to decide if you want to take the risk or not. Some people, drive cars. I rock climb. Some people skydive. Figure out the level of risk you're willing to take, but just understand that these recovered batteries cannot be the same as prime cells purchased on their own. Now, they may be grade A cells because they're being used in a battery pack versus B grade cells we might get through the secondary market vapors normally exposed to or get batteries sourced from. So there might be some things there, but just understand it is a little more risk and go carefully when you do that. And you're putting a lot of trust in the person to not thin out the metal, not bend the top contact or anything when they're removing the batteries. But if it's a good job you're doing it for yourself, no problem. If you get it from someone else, yeah. And the thing where, and it's also very hard to not be totally silent when you're reading someone else's comments, going back and forth is going to be a little bit interesting. Yeah, Ankman Raw, yeah, that's what I have to do in the studio. I was telling me where I could set up slow chat. Um, Rock climbing skills. Ooh, I'm not going to bring a. The last thing you want to do is start doing selfies and having any distractions when you're climbing. It's safety, 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 because there's a lot of risk in technical climbing, and your focus has to be entirely on the climbing and your partner's safety, and then your partner has to be concentrating on you. So I don't think I'll be filming that. But who knows? Maybe I'll throw up an album of some earlier photos where people who aren't climbing take pictures of us climbing and do those kind of things. Um, why did the batteries vent at 40 watts each you're running them? I can't answer the question. Not enough information. If the wraps were in perfect condition, if the mod might have failed, you might have shorted them going in and out of the contact. Did they fail right away? Did they fail during use? Were they hot? How long did you have them? What was the condition? Can't answer the question right now. HomeTech batteries. HomeTech, HOHM, decent from X. They're identical to Samsung 30Qs or LG HE2s, depending which one you get, Home Life or Home Work. They're good batteries. The 30Q is a fantastic battery. The HE2 is a middle performing battery. The 25R, HE4, VTC5A, VTC4, VTC3, HD2, HD2C, HD4 are all better batteries. So, for the price, I think you can do better, particularly a VTC5A from X. And for anything, it's a fantastic all-around battery. X-Star chargers. No idea about any chargers, zero time for charger testing. The one time I tried testing a charger, it took 4 days. I have to come up with a shorter method. Even what I have now, I'm doing videos, I'm completely overwhelmed. I have some ideas that I'll be discussing with the community over the next few weeks or so, but right now, completely overwhelmed with what I already have. You may have noticed there's less testing now that I have videos. One of them has to give, either a lot less testing or no videos, or I don't answer 200 questions a day more. It just can't. And all the special projects and lifecycle testing, all that is just sitting there along with a 3-month backlog of batteries. So something has to give or something has to change. And I'll pass a few ideas on the community about that. But right now, sorry, no recommendation. 5 syllables, that's why I didn't get it. No recommendations on a charger. And I'd say if you did have a question, if I'm babbling on, wait until I look down and then post your questions. And something, particularly for the formal live Q&A, if you ask 20 times, the odds are 100 to 1, I will never see your question because I'm just not looking down there enough to get them. So please be patient. The live Q&A won't be a guarantee. I'll only get to 5% of the questions that anyone will have. But that's 5% more than I might normally get to. And I ask you to understand that I may just not see your question. But if you keep typing it in when I'm talking to the camera and not looking down there, then I'm never going to see it. So I'd say try, but there's all that delay stuff and weirdness. So I don't have a good solution for it. I can just try getting to as many questions as I can. And well, I'll just have to do lots of Q&As and see if we can get to everybody. 18650 AF Sanyos. Don't know anything about that battery. Sorry. Um, Thank you, Clarence. Okay, I'm going to have to do this. Sorry. 3 for $10 reading glasses. I'm sick and tired of breaking prescription glasses. I can have these, 6 of them spread around the house. I don't care if I step on them, break them, whatever, but I just need them to see anything. So, but don't tell anybody. This is just like our secret, all right? Please, because no one else is watching. All right. AW batteries. Tested them a couple of years ago, but I haven't seen them anymore. I guess RTD Vapor still has them, but with a 3-month backlog, I can only test the ones that are requested the most often. So I'm just not getting requests for AW, and so they're just not in the testing queue. But 18350s, I hope to this spring, with all my spare time, to do some testing on those. But we'll find out if the Aspire is really being still sold or not, what might be decent out there, with Comp Life coming out, or the Comp Life Mechs coming out for 18350s. That, try to find a good one that we can use at something below 1.5 ohms in a Mech. Best 2700 for Mechs that you can buy. Any of the 5-prong top cap ones from iJoy, VapPower, eFest, Amp King, and others. They have 5 legs coming down from the top contact, 3000 mAh. They're decent batteries. If you have an adapter, a VTC5A is a good choice also. Is capacity the only difference between 18650 and 2700s? No, but because you get lots of 2700s and lots of 18650s, we can't just distill it down to, oh, they're bigger or they hit harder or they have more capacity. You can have more capacity and harder hitting, namely running at a higher voltage in a 2700, if that's the market that particular 2700 is going for and what they want to do. Their customer, each battery is designed for specific use, specific customer. VTC5As were designed for electric vacuum cleaners. It says right at the top of the data sheet. So that's what it's set up to perform best in, and for those customers. That's why it has such a high pulse rating at this expensive cycle life. They're not looking for long cycle life. They want you to buy another vacuum cleaner. They're looking for just performance. High temperature be damned. And I'm actually doing VTC5A cycle life testing now because I want to quantify, Sony's 30 amp rating. It's just too high for a decent cycle life versus, let's say, 20 amps for VTC5. I think VTC5A is lower than 30 amps. That's why I rated it 25 amps. But there'll be a post about this soon. Other than iJoy 2700s, yeah, and the other 5, which none of these are rewraps of each other. It's a different company's cell that they're all using with the 5 top caps. VTC6As, think Christmas to see those. Can you double wrap 18650s GT? Yes, you can. But make sure they still fit in your mod without being torn to hell. You can always double up if you want to, but they can get very fat. Some mods, they can start tearing at each other, or at the top, where it usually, in the bottom, where it's usually a tiny bit wider, they can abrade then, or scrape on the door, or maybe the door doesn't shut as tight and pops off all the time. So don't tear up the wraps in an effort to try to protect the wraps by double wrapping them. Boosted Hyundai for proper disposal of lithium batteries. Give them a wrap with tape to insulate the top, and any of the big home improvement stores, Home Depot, Best Buy, the electronics stores, will have a battery recycling bin. Or your local municipality may have a recycling center that you can bring things to, that often will have a battery bin you can bring them to. But just for the sake of the recycling center and taking 500 batteries in the thermal runaway in a huge fire, give it a wrap of tape, particularly if you have multiple batteries and you want to just bring them in a Ziploc bag, tape them up. Cyprian Victor, greetings from Romania. And I don't remember enough of my Romanian other than Mulțumesc and I forgot, there was just thank you, and I forgot what the other ones were. Anyway, I have a friend from Yashi who was Bucharest for a few years and picked up a few words, but of course now that I'm live, I don't remember any of them. My apologies. But thank you for joining us. And everybody, thank you for joining and giving me feedback on some of these things. Um, Greetings to Thailand. Ace, hello. Zach, I don't know. What about VT6A? Ben, I just mentioned that 2 minutes ago. Think Christmas. Think around Christmas for that battery. Maybe. Maybe. Let me scroll up. Did I miss anything? Yoi posted Lassie posted a test result for a rewrap Samsung that outperformed the VTC 5A. Sounds like it may be the 20S. Um, I'll look for that. I haven't seen it, but that's what I think the Vapcell Black 38 amp 2000 mAh battery was, a Samsung 20S, but like the VTC 4A, VTC 6A, Sanyo, the Samsung 30T, 40T, 50G, all these other cells, I think it's early production. I think these are samples flying around, a few hundred here and there, and you're not going to see it for a very long time. But it's been a few months. Maybe the Samsung 20S is out, and as soon as I get production cells, I'll test them. But right now, someone has to send them to me. You know, if I call them up and ask them, it's usually too late by the time I get it. Yeah, 30Ts, Boombot. Yeah, think summer. That's what I'm thinking for that. What 18650 has a 4-hole top post? All the LGs are 4. Samsung, Sony's are 3 legs. LGs are 4. Now, that's for 18650s. 2700s, 3, 4, 5. I haven't seen enough of a pattern. And then the China cells can be 3 or 4. Max wattage, William Romero, check out my videos, episodes 2 and 3. It's about batteries for and calculating battery current for regulated and unregulated mods. Home life batteries. Panda, I was talking earlier about the home tech batteries. The home life batteries, in my testing, and I'm retesting them soon, they used to be identical to LG HG2s. Now they're identical to Samsung 30Qs. That's a good battery. Is it worth the price for something that's identical to a Samsung 30Q at a much lower price? That's up to you. You'll have to determine that. Zach, I won't be doing that because then I have to do it for 100 different people, and it just becomes overwhelming, and it takes away from all the questions too. Long life 10 amp 18650 for MTL. The Sanyo NCR 18650GA I like, and the LG MJ1 are my two favorite 10 amp batteries. Now, you can look at my recommended batteries table. Go to my blog at ECF, and you can go to any of my videos. All the links are there. Or go to my Facebook Mooch page, and the links are there, and you can get my recommended batteries table and see what just a few top choices are. Lots of other good batteries in the recommended, other than what's in the recommended batteries table. But that's just some choices to narrow down the 300 choices that we have. Patreon, Keith, we'll see what happens. Different cell in a single mod. Venyo? V-H-E-N-J-O. Venyo. I'm going to say Venyo, but I'm not quite sure. I like the name. You can use any battery you want as long as you don't go over its rating. Don't abuse it. Keep the wraps in perfect condition. You need to pick a battery that matches the way you vape. And when you say you want to start using a Mech, you're saying to yourself, I want to learn about batteries. I want to learn Ohm's law. I want to learn about coils and experimenting, because you just can't dial up and down a wattage to tweak it. You've got to do all the kind of experimenting, and you have to embrace it, and you have to say, I want to learn all this stuff and spend the time learning it, because that way I can find that perfect Mech vape. And that's what it's about. So embrace the knowledge that you've got to learn, and look around. Check out my Mooch Facebook page. Check out my blog at ECF. Any of my videos will have the links in the description section. Yeah, Robert, I also have the charging chart. Thank you. For recommended charging rates for a lot of batteries, at least the big 4 name brands, Samsung, Sony, LG, Panasonic, Sanyos. Best way to store batteries. I addressed this in my latest video, how to extend the life of our batteries. Check that out, but approximately half charge. But they hate being stored. It's better to rotate through 20 batteries than to use 10 batteries and store another 10. because then you have to go back and check the charge and maybe boost them up a little bit every couple of months. It's best just to rotate through the 20 or not have a lot of batteries in storage, ideally. But if you already have them, rotate through them. Yeah, Keith, that sounds like a plan, actually. Not paying for drinks. Let me slide up here a little bit and see. Yeah, Mooch, an episode about chargers and charging. I have to start testing some chargers, which means I have to find some time, which means something has to fundamentally change in my life to get the time to do that, and also the several $100s I'd need to even begin doing that, because it's 2 chargers minimum, because you need to check for consistency between assembly, 3 preferably, because 1 at least I'm going to be drop testing, if not all 3. And then you've got to check just from charger to charger, because if you grab one, that could be total crap. Or, if you grab another one, it could be, that one guy who came in one day who's an amazing assembler, or someone's paying particular attention on the QC testing line. So you look for, what's really important, particularly coming out of China, is unit-to-unit consistency. Because you can have a fantastic design, but if you don't have that consistency in assembly and application of a strict enough quality control testing setup, it's useless. That design is useless. Or the other way around. Well, actually, no, not too much. But if you have a crappy design, quality control will sort out a lot of things before it gets to market. So let's stick to the other scenario. Fantastic design can be ruined by inconsistent assembly. And particularly now where you've got the Chinese New Year holiday, and you've got a lot of people who don't come back. And I'm hearing up to, I think Phil Posado said the complaints with some of the China companies, they lose up to 30% of the workforce, which means they absolutely scramble to fill in slots. And all these brand new people are now on the line. There's not a lot of time spent on, you can't, these ultra low priced things, and these are really ultra low prices. You cannot dedicate huge amounts of testing time and huge comprehensive quality control testing and checking and long-term burning in and durability testing and all this kind of stuff. You just get them out. And we see that a lot with some mods. We are used as beta testers. Now, some companies do a much better job than others, but some looks like they don't do as good a job as others. So we can't count on all this stuff working, and we have to do testing across chargers. So back to the charger question, a lot of time, a lot of money involved for charger testing. If I'm going to say anything about a charger, I don't know when, but I know it's a priority request from the community, and I'm trying to find ways to get it done. As soon as I can get the 3rd set of shelving for the test station over here, because every time I get a set of shelving in, and it's just really some bookcases I'm extending the shelving out for, just to make big shelves so I can stack all the equipment up. The other 2 times I got it there and I started stacking up the equipment and realized I was doing this as opposed to a good workflow. Essentially, I would find a better workflow each time. So another set of shelving. Luckily, got a couple dollars. Actually, no, I don't, but I have a credit card, and it's just plywood for the shelving. So order another set and cut some legs for it and prop things up and hot glue and work something out, and then get the test station up, and then start to see what it'll take to test chargers and try to speed it up over that 4-day nightmare I was doing last time. And let me get back to some questions here. My apologies. Any difference between 2700s and 18650s? It depends on the battery. It's almost like asking, is there any difference between one battery and another? So really, check out my ratings charts, check out my recommended batteries, and pick the one that fits the way you vape. My videos 2 and 3 will help you pick a battery for regulated or unregulated mods. Build my old charger line. I'd like to, actually. Time. Ugh. And no one would buy it. It'd be $150. That's not an exaggeration either. That's how much like a 4-bay ultra-reliable high-amp charger would cost. Well, in low volumes. You get a China manufacturer, 100,000 of them, they can be less expensive. But if I'm banging out 1,000 of them, getting juice under a wrap, no danger. It's messy. It attracts moisture that rusts the battery. If you see a lot of juice under the wrap, I recommend rewrapping. Just wipe it down, even a slightly damp towel, get the juice off of there, put another insulator on, put the wrap on carefully. And do that. But otherwise, there's nothing inherently bad about it. Just don't do it. I know that's easier said than done. Um, do I vape, Zach? Yes, I do. But because where I'm set up, I can't vape while any of the equipment is running. And I have two test stations up here. Because of the internal fans, there's no way I'm taking several $1,000s worth of equipment and having it suck in e-liquid to form a little film that all the dust sticks to. And when they go out for calibration, it turns a $400 calibration into a $1,000 calibration because now they have to send it out to be cleaned in an anti-static, vapor cleaned, take out the circuit boards, go to vapor cleaning station, have it cleaned, put it, reassemble it, then calibrate it. No, 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 no. So I never vape while the equipment's running, and it's pretty well running 24 hours a day. I'm hoping to get everything, at least for videos, moved to the other room. So I can vape, because right now, actually, I'd like to, because I got some Nilla Killer in the Machina, and yeah, never mind. Right here, and is that backwards? I'd like to vape, but I'll be taking a break later. I like to walk in the rain in New York late at night because it is just quiet, dead quiet. I live near the park, so it smells fantastic with the wet soil and the wet trees and just the sound of the rain. I really like it. It's very relaxing. Green screen to put up the info instead of handwriting it. Well, I might do, I don't know what to call it, but just slides where I voice over slides. But right now, that's more work, more time, and I just don't have it. If I see I can save time with it or the results are better, then I'll do it. But right now, that'll be very hard. Say, abusing your batteries. Elusive, Pimpernel. That can be, in terms of the use, getting them too hot, getting them too cold, but it can also mean physical abuse, denting, scraping, crushing in the top or bottom contact of the battery. Anything outside of being really, really gentle to them, going above the current rating. All those things that are abusive accelerate the aging of the battery and also increase the risk of using them. Can we see your test station? As soon as it all exists, yeah, I'll be doing a whole video just on it. Right now, there's one over here with the cycling station. Actually, I've got one testing contacts, resistances, and heating in the other room for a special project. The other one here is cycling a VTC5A, and then some empty shells. Well, it's filled with all just the bulk stuff over here. But I just want to get it in one area as opposed to poking around to 3 different areas. And my girlfriend's going to like it too when I get everything in one area, which is the reason why it's moving out of the other room to here and be jammed into one corner into a standing workstation because there's not even room for a chair, but it'll get it out of the bedroom, which makes everyone happy. Like here, a difference between Sony VTC5 and VTC5A, 5 amps. VTC5A runs cooler, hits harder. It's a 25 amp battery. VTC5 is a 20 amp battery. You can check out my Mooch page on Facebook or blog VCF. Links are in the description for any of my videos. And you can grab my 18650 ratings table. There's also links to my blog at ECF. You can go to the individual test reports for those batteries. Reasonably priced chargers. LD Williams. No, because I haven't tested any. I was talking about this just a little bit earlier. Hopefully, that'll be something we do this spring. Jerry, whoa. Jerry Ray Amundsen, thank you very much. I really appreciate the donation. Thank you, sir. Wow. Wow. That'll certainly help. That actually will pay for a good chunk of the plywood for the shelving. I'm very tired. Shelving for this, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Why aren't more mod makers honest with their max wattage? Joshua, don't tell. Don't tell. Because it doesn't sell mods. A 20 amp battery doesn't sell. A 60 amp battery sells really well, especially when all you have are options between 40 to 60 amp batteries. Asia, you can't buy any decent batteries. All they have is crap rewraps, like the really bad ones. And the ratings are ridiculous. It sells more. Even though no one, the vast majority of people vape it on 150 watts, they don't want a 150 watt mod. They want a 200, 250, 300, 350 watt mod. Because what vapor doesn't want to just try it once? We don't vape at that, but we want to try it. Big numbers equals more better for a vast number of people, and it sells. And they wouldn't have these mods if we weren't buying them like crazy. They bang out mods every 2 weeks. So if every 2 weeks we're seeing a new mod with really high power ratings, it's because we keep buying them. Adam Holbrook, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Um, uh, Pinoy Gamer 19, hi, is it safe if I can use a dead battery that's revived? No. 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 Okay, I'll explain. Anything over about 2.5 volts and the damage starts accelerating. Below 2.0 volts, the copper electrode in the battery starts literally dissolving. If it spends enough time below around 2 volts, that copper starts plating itself onto different parts of the battery. So when you recharge the battery, you start getting dendrites, crystal growth. The battery can short circuit internally. That's an extreme example, but there's nothing good at all about reviving a battery. My feelings, my personal feelings are batteries are dirt cheap for the year, 2 years that you get to use them. And if you get a battery that goes down below 2 volts, just recycle and replace it. If it's in a married set, oh well, get a new set. It's part of what we have to do in maintaining our batteries. These batteries are not risk-free. They're not some kind of perfectly safe thing. There's risk in using them. And we want to keep the risks of using them low because they're not a problem unless we misuse or handling them. And reviving batteries or trying to recover them to save a little bit of money is misusing the battery. And it just increases our risk. So for me, if you're asking me, I can't recommend ever reviving or recovering a battery. That's why a lot of chargers will not charge a battery below a certain voltage. It's not good. How do you revive a battery? Vape heads, usually it's alternating pressure and breaths. Black gunk on the insulator that wasn't rust, still safe. Well, no, it's not safe. It can't be, but we don't know if it's dangerous. Now, if it was juice, it may have been just absorbing a little bit of moisture. That's a steel can there, and you've got some rust mixed in with juice gunk. If you can wipe it off with a slightly damp alcohol, paper towel or napkin or something like that, rewrap, that's fine. If the steel itself is starting to bubble up, that means it's become thinner, it's corroded and damaged, replace the battery. LiPo battery pack video. Safety. LiPos are, they're just lithium-ion batteries. It's the most volatile chemistry. And the more temperature sensitive and more handling sensitive. So you just have to be very gentle with them. Don't abuse them. They have a short cycle life. They start aging when they're barely warm because inside they're a lot hotter. So, but I'll be doing some of those videos to address that later on. Sorry for the silence. I'm trying to think how to address that. The Sherlock Holmes 47 amp. Does it really have a 47 amp on that? That's its pulse rating? All right, no, I'm not going to go into a pulse rating rant. It's in the testing queue. I hope to get to it this month. The Sherlock Holmes 2700 from Home Tech. And designing my own device. Yes, but my girlfriend has priorities on what kind of device I'm going to design, so we've got to get to that one first. That spot in the shirt, this is my pet. Let's see. Gizzard Stew. Thanks, you got the check. Awesome. And I'm trying to think, trying to see now. Can I use 650 in place of 18650? The battery fits. You can totally use it. You just pick the size. Is not a concern as long as it fits. You're choosing the battery rating that fits the way you vape, and then essentially pick the highest capacity for that. If you have some very specific requirements, high amp Mech use or something like that, you're going to be a little more concerned about watt hours and internal resistance and harder hitting and things like that. But if it fits, you can use it. And some of the mods now, thank goodness, are almost omni battery. Almost any of the sizes, 18650 and up, they're able to take. Dual Mech batteries were much faster than dual regulated. Mike Miles, I don't understand the question, I'm sorry. 26650s are horrible. Vape heads, yeah. Well, they're designed as energy batteries. Low discharge current for a very long time. High capacity, essentially to deliver lots of energy over a long period of time versus the 18650s were primarily, at least for us, designed for power. Higher current levels, lower internal resistance, so there's not as much voltage sag. And there are some better 26650s now, but it's taking a while. I've been surprised actually at some of the better performing ones. It took a long time. How do I feel about stacked 1850 mech mods? They're longer. Stacked, it's just a higher voltage. There's nothing inherently different. I'm sorry about that. There's nothing inherently different or wrong or anything about them. It's a different voltage. You can, one nice thing is they're higher efficiency, better use of your batteries, but if it goes wrong really fast, really wrong, because the ability to create much, much higher power levels is there. You need much longer coils. My episode 2 addresses that, some of the equations for series and some of what you can do, but you're using the batteries at much lower current levels for the same power level versus a single battery mech. So they're more efficient, there's less heating, they run it more than twice the time of a single battery because you gain some efficiency back. So I've got nothing against stacked mods. You just got to be careful. I mean, if you're going into a mech already, there are issues, safety issues and things you need to know. If you're going to a series stacked mech mod, then even more to be aware of what you're doing. Short circuits and things like that, no, bad. Sam, thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate it. Support to help with your expenses. What I do for the community is priceless. Keep it up, Mooch. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Trucking vapor. Huh? Let's see. From Sweden. Thank you, sir, for checking in. Well, it's actually not too early over there now. Mooch likes long tubes. Yeah, but only it... Well, never mind. Yeah, Robert, that's okay. Sometimes convenience out-trumps everything, but I do appreciate you saying that. New question. Been using a pair of HG2 togethers. One of them got a super tiny scratch on the wrap. I've ordered a pair of VTC6s now. It's fine to change from HG2 to VTC6 on the same device, right? Totally, yeah. You can use any batteries you want, I mean, if they're married set. Now, maybe that scratch isn't a problem. I don't know. I can't say one way or the other. You can always rewrap while you're using the VTC6s, using the same way as you did the HG2s. It can get a little hotter, but if you're not stressing the hell out of them, then it's okay. Preventing arc marks, that's up to the mod. Lowering the current level, which probably isn't an option. The contact shape, you can try different batteries. Certainly, as soon as you get any arc marks, remove them, because that pitting raises the metal up, which means when the two, instead of the metal coming together pretty flat, it's coming together on the high points. So it's creating even more arcing. So any arc mark, immediately remove it. But flat contacts on a mech, it's just not a good idea. They need to be rounded, so at any point, they're a little better. But also there are other things that contribute to it, the surface finish, the plating, the inductance, I'll go into this in a video, of your coil, which creates a spark when you try to separate them. All those things play together. Lowering the current level fundamentally changes it, but that's usually not an option for a mech user. That screaming noise, that wasn't me. Oh, I don't know if you can hear the beeping, but that is a test that is done. I'll get to that later. Fine grit sandpaper, yes you can. Just be careful. Try a scrubber sponge first. That's all I need. But I get to it as soon as I see them. It's just part of, you pull them out. I just keep a scrubber sponge near the chargers. I see it just, into the charger. Let's see, rewrapping tutorials. There's so much information on rewrapping. I might touch on it in a video, but I don't think I'm going to film a video. It's so easy. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of sites and resources for rewrapping. But if it's heavily requested, when I get the test station up and I can bolt something, to get a close up what do they call it, uppy closey. I can set up something to show rewrapping, but it's no different. I would do nothing different than anybody else has done 100 times before. Um, Arcing on the outside of the button, no pyro, no party. Green, green, that's interesting. It's a voltage indication on some somewhat reliable as a point to recharge. No. The main display on a regulated mod shows you the coil, the voltage from the output of the regulator going to the coil. Only a separate side display, if it has it, will give you the battery voltage. So the current on 99% of the mods and the voltage you see in the main part of the display have nothing to do with the battery and can't be used for it. I cover this in episode 3 of Mining Your Mods in my videos. You can check it out and get a little more information on that. Personal ohm preference for vaping? I still like a twisted 28 Canthal at 28 watts, 0.4 to 0.5 ohms, depending how tightly I do the twist, in a mini volt with a Nobunaga Mini, tucked into the shirt pocket and sitting in the park. Otherwise, I'm typically in the 0.15, 0.17. It depends in the mood I'm in. I was a stress smoker for 30 years, and I'm a stress vapor now, unless I get a new juice, and then I'm a freaking chain vapor. But after like 3 or 4 days, I'm like, and I'm back to just vaping occasionally. For me, it was half of my desire to smoke was the break that I took when I smoked, and the mechanical action of smoking, the inhaling, the feeling it, things like that. So for me, I like variety. I don't like the same thing, and it's all based on mood and what I need to get rid of that stress. And also what time of day it is, because if I generate serious clouds, I get yelled at from across the street and people throw water out the windows and all kinds of stuff. It's a pretty militantly anti-vaping neighborhood here in New York City, at least where I am. On a tube mech, Robert Wiggles, on a tube mech, would coarser fine threads be better for current flow? Probably done coarse. 2 threads would be plenty. But what's critical is its engagement. It's just the surface area of the contact patches between the threads, and that depends how they cut both of them. So it's up to them. I think lots and lots of fine threads, well, that's good, but for contact area, but at a certain point, it just doesn't matter anymore. So much of it is, are they cutting the threads? Is the shape of the thread proper? Are they cutting the threads properly? Fine threads, I don't know. I haven't done enough testing to see. I'd like to with free time. Scroll back up a little bit, see what we can find here. I might have missed. Do I like my mech setup? Would I recommend that to somebody? No, because as a mech user, you have to find out what you like. Don't use a coil just because your friend uses it. Now, you got to start somewhere, I understand. But don't say, oh, my friend uses that 0.04. I'm going to start there. Whoa. Well, try a 0.15, get a VTC5A, try a 0.15, 0.17 coil. See what you think of that. I'm assuming a single battery mech of any battery size. And then from there, play around. Play around with your cotton, play around with your juices. Different juices are going to like different amounts of heat, see what the ramp up time is. Some kind of framed hoof gargoyle dragon Game of Thrones, coil it might take 3 seconds to ramp up, and it's a 0.08, so you're just wasting 90% of your battery watt hours flowing through that thing versus a simple dual 24 gauge round wire or something like that, which can ramp up nichrome, ramp up really quickly and give you everything you need using half the watt hours or half the amp hours from the battery, because you're ramping up quick, so you're not pulling out it as long, and then when you let go of the mech, it's not sitting there sizzling away, wasting juice. Hey Mooch, Project K Reviews. Hey Mooch, have you covered why not to use USB port and regulated mods to charge, so I have a place to send people? No, I haven't, because it's so up to the mod. Some mods, people have said, I don't know. Anthony Vapes on ECR, Reddit, the Electronic Cigarette subreddit, I believe has done, oh boy, I may be misspeaking. I don't know if it's Anthony Vapes or somebody else who's doing charger port reliability testing, or not not reliability testing, but seeing what the heck goes on with the charging ports. I can't say one way or the other. I recommend external charging because it saves your USB port for firmware upgrades, or period. It's faster. It's safer overall because the batteries are outside the mon and you can monitor them. It's a lot faster, but I said that. And it's just overall, I think, better. But I know some people can't, or they don't want to buy a charger, or it's not convenient. Never leave a USB charging mod unattended. Put it on a non-flammable surface. Just assume something's going to happen. Because for 1 in a million people, it's going to. And you want the consequences of that to be as low as possible. Again, it's risk reduction. That's what this is all about. Just doing little tiny things everywhere we can to keep the risk of using these batteries as low as possible. And that way we can use them safely day after day for years and years and years. Jeff J. Yo. Sanyo 27As will become more readily available. Big C954. I hope so. It's been damn long enough. I thought they were going to be, I was told by more than one person, we were going to have a hell of a lot more of them. But all it takes is one customer to come along and say, you know, I'm building 100,000 electric vacuum cleaners this year, or 100,000 power tool packs this year. I need your entire year's supply. And bam, they're delayed for another year. So there is no way to predict. When excess inventory appears on the secondary market, they'll all of a sudden appear for us through the distributors, and we'll get some samples and do some testing and hopefully become more available. But right now, what time is it in New York? Ben, it is 4 a.m. Better Mooch, regulated mods. Yes, I do. I still love my eFusion Duo DNA 200. I still love my Minikin. Tiny mod, dual 18650. Fantastic. Love the flat black. Comfortable as hell. For the next live Q&A, I'll make sure all the equipment's off. And I'll, whatever I'm vaping that week, I'll make sure I have out. We'll talk juice and mods and stuff like that. Will VTC4 be as safe as VTC5 for 30 amp vaping? Sam Lopes, no, because the VTC4 is not a 30 amp battery. Neither is the VTC5A. They're both in the 23 to 25 amp range. That's all I can recommend using them for. VTC5A is a better choice. Runs cooler. It's rated a little bit higher for high amp vaping. 5A. Let's see. Do I actually sleep, Mooch? Ben Mackinson. Mackinson? Sorry if I got that wrong. I can get back to you after I look up that word on Google. I'm not really sure yet what that means. Sleep. I've heard of that, though. What batteries power you, Mooch? Pneumatics. It's just a lot better. Girlfriend prefers it. The action can be a little smoother. Batteries trail off. Pneumatics keep up all night. It's just much easier that way. Girlfriend is a special guest. That will never happen. Ever. She's made that very clear, that under no circumstances will she ever appear past that point. She's away this weekend down in DC for business, as often happens on weekends. So, hey, let me test live Q&A and see what that's like. Sam Lopes, plenty rated for 30. Well, people can issue any rating they want. Sony rates them for 30 amps. VTC5As, VTC4s also, but that's not my rating. And I have to go with, my recommendations go based on my ratings, which are based on decent cycle life. And you're not going to get decent cycle life at 30 amps. So how we actually use them is your choice. And we all choose the level of risk we want and what we want out of our batteries. But if someone asks me, I'm going to go with, my recommendations will always be based on my ratings. Roy Graham, thank you, sir, very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. VTC6A, spoke about this a couple times before. It could be Zisus Mertzos. I just did some testing recently. Check my Facebook or my blog at ECF. Links in any descriptions on my older videos. Great battery, beats the 6. It's a fantastic battery. We're not going to see any before the end of the year, I think. Ben tried Macomson. Yes, actually, I like the way you pronounce it better than I do. Estimated rating of VT6A. Michael Murray, check out my test report. Everything's there. My own brand of battery. I will never do a battery, wrap batteries, have anything to do with batteries. It's too brutal. It's too hard because I'll never be able to buy from any of the big four directly. So I'm always going to be at the mercy of the suppliers. And that's a terrible thing to be relying on for so many of them, because there's so many points where things can go wrong. And if I'm going to have anything with my name on it, I'm going to have to spot check almost every battery. And you can't do that and still sell a battery at a decent price. Vapers are incredibly cost conscious. Even if my batteries are only 50 cents more, huge numbers of vapers would say, oh, hell no, I'm not paying 50 cents. I'll take my chance with, IMR or somebody else who sells it. It wouldn't be 50 cents more. It'd be a lot more than that. Just to save the money, and they'll take the chance. And we see that over and over and over with the purchasing decisions that vapers make. They'll take the chance just to save some money. Keith Black, start a vacuum company. That's fracking brilliant. You're the chief marketing officer. Is there such a thing? Well, you're it. Maybe we can pass ourselves off as Dyson, D-I-S-O-N. Maybe the battery companies won't notice, and we can get a couple 100,000 6As or something in here. Certified batteries. We got some interesting stuff coming through the pipeline for that. Underwriters Laboratories, UL now, that's the official name. UL 8139 is a new standard for electronic cigarette hardware safety standards, which everyone thinks sounds terrific, and there's some really good stuff in it. But if the final draft has anything about protected batteries only or internal batteries only, we got some big problems if the FDA defaults to the UL standards, which they do for medical device batteries. So there could be some big problems with having certifications here. Overall, I think it'd be good, but they could wipe out, in the FDA's eyes, entire classes of vaping devices. So 2018 is going to be an interesting year for batteries. And juice too, evidently, with the FDA doing the things there. Stuff about threads. If I had a juice line, juice names would be 10, 20 amp. I thought about a juice line, and I realized, no. You all last week referred to drop testing for devices based on batteries. I see the companies, for the internal battery mods, that's okay. For user replaceable batteries, that's going to be an issue. It's not really strict. They're talking 3-4 foot drop testing on, if it's anything like mil standard 810, it's 3 or 4 foot drop onto 2 pieces of plywood onto cement. It's not brutal test, but it's something that I think would start denting batteries on a lot of mods. Can I run my tube mob with 3,000 lemons in series? Yes, Keith, you can. It gets slippery in the local area, so I recommend a tarp, or get a kiddie pool in the living room and vape inside the kiddie pool, because then you can just have all the lemons wired up and just kind of nestle into the lemons. It works well. Okay, no, only potatoes. Do I recommend IMR, Eric Duray? Yes. IMR batteries is a trusted one. Check the description section for any of my videos. I have a list of reliable or trusted vendors there based on feedback from the community. It's subject to change at any time, but there's about a dozen there in the EU and America. GMAT, no, I am trollable, but the check has to arrive first. And let's see. Dyson ventilators. Any other last questions? Maybe wrap it up soon, because I'm sure I've got another 50 or 100 questions to answer. I still haven't got back to anybody the other video I just posted for today. How about your own formula for battery chemistry? Eek. I know a little bit about battery chemistry, but not enough to do a formula. I'm definitely not a materials engineer or electrochemist. There's any battery we would ever need exists. It's the expectations we have for a battery that are way out of place. You just can't. Things like the 30T, the 40T, the 50G, the 20S, all these batteries coming to market, that's state of the art. That's as good as it's going to get. Nothing I'll come up with will be any better. If I had my way, I'd do something around the A123 26650. Astounding battery, safe, but it runs at like 2.5 volts under load. So it'd have to be a big, bulky 3 battery series mod, regulator, et cetera, and so forth. And it would cost hundreds of dollars, and no. I may do one for myself, but I did a lot of work for a client with these A123 26650s and paralleling with ultra caps for starting big diesel engines and stuff. And you can have a 12-ounce battery pack replacing 2 40-pound batteries and starting Caterpillar, dozers and stuff like that. They're astounding capability in the A123s. But, you know, there's some downsides to it. And getting into chemistry, no. I have other ideas for things I might want to do sometime in the future, but not a battery. Yeah, Robert Wiggles, yeah, lipos. If you want better performance than our round cells, lipos are fantastic. Increased volatility is the price you pay. Increased fragility, in terms of handling, in terms of temperature, everything. Lipos are worse than our round cells, but you get performance in return. Batteries are so simple because it's this. You want more capacity? Your current handling is going to go down. You want more current handling? Your capacity is going to go down. You want more power, less internal resistance? Well, maybe I'm going to lose a little bit of safety. It always works out there. There's no unicorn. There's no magic. Every day, dozens of times a day, I'm asked, Mooch, I know you said there are no 60 amp batteries, but a new one came out. Is this 60 amp battery for real? No, no. There's no battery 18650 over 30 amps. I don't know if there ever will be. There's not much of a market for that. Remember, these batteries are designed for specific commercial and industrial uses. Vaping's the tiniest ultra high liability market. They're never going to design for us. They want us to all disappear. So until someone says they need something like that, we'll never see a battery like that. It's just not worth the millions. It's easier just to do a 2700 or 21700 and make those 40 amp. And I'm hopeful for later this year for things like that to appear. Yeah, Rob Wiggles, it's others too. VTC5A was a unicorn. Yeah, it's close. It's an incredible battery, but it's not in terms of unexpected. That's just a nice evolutionary step. Parallel versus series. Huh? Andy, thank you for the kind words. There's been actually a lot of advantages, a lot of advancements, Niji, in LFP cells for specific markets, automotive markets, ultra high reliability, long-term, high cycle life type things, niche markets where the lower voltage isn't much a concern, energy markets, not the power markets, where it's just capacity, longevity. Let's see. Boosted, Hyundai, is there an easy way to check a battery's resistance? No. I mean, you can get an inline voltmeter and just try to see what the drop is, but it really depends when the update of the meter is. You might miss the drop and come back up. Really what you do is you take a fully charged battery, let it rest for an hour, measure its voltage, then with a known current level, let's say 10 amps, you measure the voltage when it hits that, and then through Ohm's law, you say 10 amps, half volt drop equals X ohms, and that'll be your internal resistance. But you've got to factor in the resistance of your contact leads, internal resistance of the mod if you're using that. Internal resistance is actually really, really hard to get done consistently. And that's evident in a lot of the analyzing charges out there. So every time you put in a battery, 23 ohms, 40 ohms, 23 milliohms, 46 milliohms, 79 milliohms. If you don't get, it's okay if it's offset, if it's wrong, if it's consistent. If it always reads 50 milliohms, and from the data sheet it's supposed to be 25, then you can go, this thing always adds 25 milliohms, now I can use it accurately to measure other batteries. But if it's inconsistent all the time, then it offers nothing. A123 makes, Nietzsche, yeah, you're right. Juan, what's up? Battery Pegasus Academy reliable. Wait, what does that mean? I'm thinking we're starting to get tapped out here. Let's give it a 5-minute thing. We'll get the last couple questions in. I'll try to get to them all, and then we'll call it a night. And I'm thinking Tuesday night, I think I don't step on any toes at 7 or 8 a.m. I think 9 o'clock will be Dimitri and Phil. So I'm thinking a live Q&A Tuesday night, but let's see. Paul, thanks for checking in all the way from Aussie land. Excuse me. Yeah, Nietzsche, they're incredible cells. Well, it's very low capacity. So the 18650 at 1100 mAh, not too many uses for it, but the 26650, ooh. Mooch, London live at night. Mooch, I just got an 18650 from something from House of Vape. I'm just getting into vaping. Can I trust this battery? I have no idea because I don't know what battery you have. The particular models for batteries, if it's privately wrapped, if I haven't tested, I don't know if it's Samsung, Sony, LG, or Panasonic, Sanyo. The top line of printing on the battery, peel off the sticker, will tell you what battery it is. You can look up the true rating of the battery. Until then, I just don't have any information I can give you as to what would be safe or not safe. Any idea why the smoke sticks explode? I actually have several here in testing. I hope to be getting one of the ones that blew up, but I have V8s and X8s here. When I start getting the one syllable stuff wrong, yeah, it's time to go. I might not find anything. Right now, I can't even get inside of them without a Dremel tool. So I'm doing just, each one I'm going to put through 3 cycles. You know, they use about 0.7 amps in charging. They're not getting that hot at charging. So if they're blowing up in charging, something particular, I think either an assembly or, you know, once you, I'm going to have to sit there and plug and unplug a couple hundred times the mods while I'm watching TV one night and start to see, you know, our contacts popping off or things shorting out. Essentially all the things that can happen overuse. Because you test new mods and you might not find anything. And you have to test a lot of them to look for assembly inconsistencies. And if I can find a good way to get them open without the battery inside exploding in my face because I'm using a Dremel cutoff wheel to get inside, the ends are press fit in, no screws. Then I can look for assembly inconsistencies and say, whoa, or I can go, I don't see anything. So I'm hoping there's a red flag someplace, but I don't know. It could take at least a couple weeks. Mike Miles, because I didn't see them. How many amps can an 18500 handle? Not a lot, but I don't know. I haven't tested them in a very long time. A lot less than an 18650. B minor, what about UL certification for just battery specs and labeling? UL will not handle battery ratings. They're safety. That's it. If it can pass short circuit testing, puncture, heat, cooling, charging, overcharging, and things like that. But in terms of setting ratings and specifications, they have nothing to do with that. There's no standards, no regulations coming up that will address accurate labeling, accurate ratings, or anything that. They're just going to address the underlying safety of the cell, which all the non-China made cells we use already meet. The UL standards are IEC 62133, UN 38.3, these different standards you can look up for things you have to survive. The China cells, I don't know. VTC4 or 5A, Lance, 5A. Will I be testing Golisi S26? I've heard they changed cells. I'm going to try to get the new cells and the S30 and retest those. What's my favorite crypto? Don't know. Any thoughts on the VapCell 38 amp? Already been tested. Check my reports. Jed, so can you add a magnet to 2650 to make it 2700 mods? If you do it carefully, yes. Why do some Mech mods have vent holes on the negative side? Oh, that whole thing, that'll take hours. Any reason why 5A over 4? It runs cooler, higher current rating, and it also hits harder than a VTC4. JC Zellner, thank you for the kind words. Gizzard Stew, thank you for the thumbs up. Don't stress that, that finger doing there. See, anything else I am missing here? I think we are about to... We are done. I think that's about it. I'm going to say goodnight to all of you. Thank you very much for coming by. Thank you so much for those of you who donated. That's actually going to pay for the plywood for the new testing station. So that's awesome, I think. We'll pay for a bunch of it. So that's always great. And anything, there's any, of course, anything left over. There's still 1 million batteries I need to buy. I don't know, 60, 70 chargers I need to buy to get started. And a whole bunch of other things. I still need to buy 4 each of about 50 different batteries just to get the internal resistance ratings for the new table for that. I can get watt hours off my existing ones, but for internal resistance, essentially it's starting over with all the Samsungs. That's coming later. That'll be done as I can with all the spare cash that I have laying around. Everything will just keep piling up. But that's just me bitching now. Thank you for watching. Thank you for helping me test out going live, and appreciate you coming by. And for the last of it here, that looks like we're good. I'll probably be deleting this, and only because it's a test. But thank you all, and thank you for the thank yous in chat. I'm actually be able to read it, and I can take these things off. The one thing about the 3 for $10 is they weigh a ton compared to prescription glasses, so we'll see what that turns into. Anyway, thank you everybody for coming by. Good night. Thanks for watching. Now, how do you end it?